Welcome to the GTM Loop. I'm Angi Milano.
And I'm Holly Glowaty. And as always, we are talking go-to-market strategies, real stories, real tactics from real people so that you can take your business to the next level and sell it, keep it, or grow it. And today we are very excited because we tackle product's role in go-to-market strategy. And we have the wonderful Hanane Bouchareb, the head of product from M1, talking about not only just the data-driven aspects of it, but the importance of things like communication and making sure that go-to-market strategy is clear across the board. And most importantly, we can't ignore the vibes. We think you're really going to enjoy this today. We talk about a lot of things, but really how to create cohesion across your entire go-to-market strategy, not just with sales and marketing, but tying in product, tying in tech, and making sure that when you go to market, it's with one voice.
Exactly.
So enjoy. All right. Welcome to the show, Hanane. We're so excited you're here today. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, what you do, and tell us a little bit about M1.
Awesome. Thanks for having me today. I'm Hanane Bouchareb. I am head of product at M1, which is a platform geared towards investing, borrowing, a high yield cash account, and all towards and creating a platform where you can manage your finances in a holistic way, and all geared toward long-term investing. So we're here to help you build your wealth over the long term of your wealth building career.
Awesome.
Great to have you on today. We're excited for this chat.
Yeah. I think, a lot of times Angi and I focus on the marketing and sales side of going to market, which is why we really wanted you to join us to bring in that product perspective. Because, we've all been part of launching something, either a new company, a new product, a new feature rollout. And when the teams aren't all working together, that's always a problem.
Absolutely.
I also feel like sometimes when people think about go to market, there is naturally that idea of like sales and marketing.
Yeah.
There is a significant amount of, I think, misunderstanding around where exactly does product come in.
Yeah.
And I think they all need to be tied together in order to make a
absolutely. Yeah. Where I see the hardest challenge is like, how does marketing market what product actually ends up building?
So true.
Which is like, we can tell you all you want what we're going to build up front, but like 8 weeks into the build, we're making concessions, we're, managing scope. We're running into things that we didn't expect to run into, that we don't have the appetite or resources to invest in. And it's always that constant communication with marketing of, hey, if we remove this feature or we don't prioritize this, how does that impact our go-to-market? Does that really lessen what we're able to say? And those are hard conversations to have because we have to have them in real time, and they're often not the direction marketing is hoping we go in when building products. But yeah, I really, it's hard. It's really hard.
It's a huge balance that when do you bring sales in the mix so they're not sharing things too early, and there's a lot. So I'm pumped for today. I think we're going to dig into some things that our audience will find very useful.
So, I agree. Let's stay on that same vein, because I know we wanted to kind of dig into that anyway. It's like when you're launching this product and things do have to shift, I guess, how do you keep alignment? Because I think sometimes we have the best of intentions of keeping alignment as priorities shift, but it doesn't always happen. So I guess, in your experience, how have you been able to manage that?
The honest answer is sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. And you do your best with the intention to always do. But the way we try is, I think, a lot of the communication channels that we've kept open with the marketing team. But the way we kind of structure product at M1, we have 3 swim lanes led by a PM with a dev team that they support. And then we have a team meeting once a week that's cross-functional, that doesn't include engineering, but marketing, brand, product and product design all sit in a room together. And it's kind of an update on how the product is going. But then eventually the script flips, where marketing then starts presenting their GTM on what they're going to go to market with. And then that's where the PM can kind of come in and say, hey, we actually are going to deprioritize this, or we had to deprioritize this. So marketing can go back, we're fine. or push back and say like, well, if there's other options of what we could deprioritize besides this, like that keeps the messaging really strong. We keep the user pre-centric too. Like, the user problem that we're trying to solve in the very beginning. And so product shouldn't depend on marketing, in my opinion, to tell them like, hey, like this is a hard sell. Like you're making this hard to sell now. Because you're usually losing the user value at that point. So having those like clear upfront where both product and marketing agree on what that problem is usually helps kind of mitigate, we have to whittle things down, but like what problem are we still solving? And can we say that we solved it when we ship this release? And that usually is what marketing is going to go and talk about in some capacity.
That makes a lot of sense. Because even when you think about like selling anything to a customer, you have to be solving some sort of a problem for them. So long as you keep that central, that makes a lot of sense to me. I know I've been part of processes before where it's like you kind of get really in the weeds and you sort of can't see the forest for the trees.
That's right.
I like that you're doing things where it's like a weekly cadence of staying in touch, because I've definitely been in orgs where we all just start running and then it's like a month goes by and they're like, we should probably get together.
Right.
So much has changed. Literally the product that you thought you were selling is probably not what's being built at all.
Well, and then it's like a much more daunting conversation.
Yeah.
You're recapping, you're adding new things, potentially new people. If it's impacting enough, there's enough progress that's gone by. So the tighter cadence makes it easier to just iterate small as opposed to a giant recap.
And I think that's where having a good product marketer is super helpful.
Yes.
Because they really sit in the pinnacle of that connection between marketing and product, so that they can develop what the messaging is so that each of the channels can kind of go off and do their own thing. And including them, in a perfect world, I would love for my PMM to tell me what to build, right? Because they're so close to the customer. And that's harder said than done, right? You need things done at speed. They need time to do research. That takes time. Over time, once that person's been there, I think that's more of a realistic ask. But for now, the way we kind of structure things is we have product marketing research and we have product research, and we try to combine those two together to kind of get what we call a minimum viable signal of what we think is going to sell. So are we, is the messaging hitting? And is the product solving a problem? And if we can get a quick signal on both of those, really we try to do it within 2 to 4 weeks before build, right when we're in the very beginning of planning. That's how we kind of incorporate both what marketing thinks they can go out and sell best versus what product can build, and then marketing just goes sells it.
So would you say signal is kind of that first thing that you look for when you're, deciding if a new product idea is worth pursuing?
Yeah. And signal can come in lots of different ways, right? Like it can come internally from your client base. And that's usually the easiest one to kind of get signal. But there are other ways you can do it too, whether you do some sort of marketing campaign test with social or partners. For example, we work with a company called Capitalize. They help us do our 401k rollovers. Awesome company. They're not paying me to say that. I genuinely think they're great people to say that.
Great partnership.
To work.
I love that.
Great partnership, truly. They're so helpful, and we're actually releasing something probably by the time this podcast is out that they've been really involved in and giving us that ability to do some of that signal testing, to test our messaging before we actually build the landing page and create that cohesive go-to-market experience. So, that's helpful. And you just have to be creative there. There's really you can't buy your way out of that. You can, but it's not as effective. And you kind of lose some money from that perspective, as opposed to utilizing your resources to kind of help you where you want to go.
I think sometimes, I love that a partnership can also be this pathway to figuring out what's next, and they can help you get there in an efficient manner. I don't know that a lot of people think about using their partners in that way from a product or feature development aspect. That's really interesting.
We get pretty good engagement actually when we do it that way, because it's mutually beneficial, right? We are a partnership. So if we build something that only benefits them, as well, like it's kind of a win-win. They gotta get to take that back and use it as a case study for themselves, perhaps do this with other clients that they have. And we're happy to play that part of it. Like no scarcity mindset here. There's plenty of opportunity for everyone to be able to acquire customers and create a feature and a product that serves the client base. So highly recommend that, because it's made things a lot easier for us, knowing that we can kind of depend on some key partnerships to give us that signal that we're looking for.
I really like that about partnerships. That's something that I think people will find very useful takeaway right away. Lots of times that's not the lens for partnerships. It's more like co-selling or, something they're kind of
like, we're going to bring you the solution. Let's not instead of solutioning together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really how it went down is we knew we wanted to prioritize this and we went and talked to them and said, hey, we're going to build this.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, how would you sell this? Is it like the whole point of this is for us to make our business bigger between both of us? Have you tried this with other clients before? Is this kind of something novel that we're trying? Turns out they had tried to build something similar, but decided to go elsewhere. But they, their product managers hopped on a call with us. Their marketing team kind of gave us what their thoughts were. And then we could kind of figure out, okay, like, some placement testing on their site to see if that generated more buzz, things like that. They helped us formulate messaging. We did less user testing because of that. And so it was a really lovely partnership that we hope to replicate more and more of that sort of thing.
That's like that is a master class in partnering.
Yes.
If I ever heard it. I feel like let's like bottle this up.
Okay. So that's exciting. You're on the cusp of a new launch. So we launched this thing. How are you guys going to measure whether the product feature is actually moving the needle? Is it revenue, adoption? Like, how do you kind of look at these things? Is it are there multiple goals and KPIs you guys are looking at?
So when we think about KPIs, we definitely have some in the beginning that we're thinking about, like post-release, especially first 30 days. What's adoption look like? Engagement, re-engagement sometimes. It kind of depends on the feature. Like, for example, our AI product that we have in beta testing right now, we heavily measure re-engagement because we're finding you don't want to be a one-hit wonder with your AI tool, right? The whole point is that they like want to come back and come back and come back because they're getting answers that actually help them solve their problem. But perhaps if you're transferring, an account from one brokerage to another, that's a different kind of lifespan of how long it's going to take you to do something, and then us to see the benefit both from the transfer and then tying that all back to revenue. So all that to say is we have to think about it in a realistic terms. And sometimes we don't see the benefit of something until like 3-6 months later. And so we have to be really diligent about coming back to that thing and measuring it 6 months later when our minds have completely and totally left whatever mindset we were in when we were actually building.
Totally. But I think on the flip side of that is also, I think sometimes people who maybe aren't involved in the project but have been watching closely set these like sort of unrealistic expectations for hitting those goals, right?
Yes.
And how do you manage against that? Because that is a tough sometimes.
Especially like when we're engaging with marketing too, right? Like maybe we want a campaign. We need multiple campaigns, right? It can't be just like the first campaign. It needs to be ongoing. Actually, how do you tie it all the way back to the top to your value prop and find natural ways to, tie other features with it, that sort of thing. And it becomes a prioritization game, essentially. Marketing's got their calendar and they're like, we can talk about this or we can talk about this. You let me know which one you feel more passionately about, or which one needs to move the needle more, or things like that. The other thing we use too, and this is a little bit more on the product side than the marketing side, but this helps us understand, at least in the first 30 or 60 days, whether we've solved the customer problem or achieved product market fit for a product or feature. We use the Sean Ellis score. I don't know if you guys have heard about that. Some great podcast on Lenny's he talks about it a lot actually. But I was really inspired after listening to an episode with the CPO of Nubank, where they use it as a post-release check, essentially. Okay. So it's a very simple school. Sean Ellis is a growth hacker who's helped hundreds of companies achieve PMF. And he found through his research and doing this so much that if you ask one simple question, you can kind of gauge like what direction you're going in. And the question is, if this product or feature went away, would you be very disappointed, somewhat disappointed, or not disappointed at all?
Yeah,
that's great.
And the goal is that you have 40% of people who engage with your product or feature say that they would be very disappointed. And once you kind of hit that in his experience, and you can decide what threshold you want or what makes sense for your company, we kind of use it as like a complement to NPS score. Where NPS is like a year-long metric to kind of compare against versus this is like a point in time. Yeah. It also helps us figure out if we're going to reinvest resources to actually, take it to the next version. Maybe we didn't get it, there's no way we got it all the first time. But sometimes you feel like you actually hit PMS and you're like, I don't need to spend more time on this. Other times you're like, wow, we are way off. We need to spend some more time on this feature to get it to a level where we're actually solving the customer's problem. And I bring that up because that actually helps marketing in a lot of ways. There are other questions you can ask as a part of the survey. The key one is the one I mentioned. But you can use that information for messaging, which is incredibly important. So like you want new messaging, you want to A/B test your messaging, things like that. And then often we found that we actually spend probably another cycle, at least a half a dev team spending, taking it to that next level. So that gives marketing the next thing about the feature to go talk about. That we didn't go with the first release, right? And so that creates this like natural continuation of the conversation as opposed to just like saying the same thing over and over again. Just helpful.
I really like that because it's an evolving message that's based on real feedback.
Well, and it almost takes something that I think sometimes feels qualitative and makes it quantitative, right?
Right.
Yes. And the way we think about it is like, we're less on the strict side where we're like, got to hit that 40%. It's more so that we're moving in the direction of up, right? Yeah. Especially when we have like a 0 to 1 release, like we did with our AI. Last year, truthfully, when that product went out, the Sean Ellis was, I think, was a 7 or 8. And we just kept iterating. And now I think it's in the 20s, which is actually kind of hard to move the needle that much on something like that. It takes a lot of, you need more engagement. You need really differentiating features so they don't feel like they're getting the same release every time. And that's really allowed us to say, yep, like we are, it's giving everyone confidence that we do understand the customer's needs. We are making progress towards it. And things are getting better every time we make changes.
That's awesome. I like that too, because a lot of times as a consumer, you'll get asked for feedback and then you're never sure if the feedback you gave actually makes it back. Like there's no loop that's closing the loop on what you actually said. I don't think anybody expects that any feedback that they give is going to be implemented, but it's nice to see when you're asked for feedback that it makes its way through and at least you're seeing some traction towards. Typically when people ask for things and not like they're alone, someone else is thinking it too.
Sure.
So I think that's a really nice way to see an incremental shift from the consumer voice, the customer's voice.
Creates trust, right? Your clients then understand that you're creating a product for that. That's influenced by their behavior, not just, something like monetary gains or anything like that. Right. For M1, it's very much like when our customers are happy, we make money is the way we like to think about it. And as long as we stay true to that, like that's who we're building a product for. And that's what we care about.
Yeah.
I love that.
It makes me think about, this is something we talk about. It's like, when does go to market end? Like when are you in market? Like really there, right? But sometimes I think sometimes it goes because like until you have a certain amount of adoption, you're not there. And so there's like that first iteration of go to market, but then there are the iterations that happen after. And sometimes it is only you update messaging and you update your sales process, but sometimes it comes with some iterations on product too, which I think it's really important to sort of think about, well, what happens once you've launched and then when are you really officially kind of like in market, you have adoption and then there's that shift. And you just, that's where my head's at right now as you're talking about this. I'm like, this is an interesting one because sometimes I think it does just get put on like, well, we got to change the messaging, but without customer feedback, maybe understanding like there could be this slight change to product and staying open to it. Cause it's also like, that takes a lot of coordination and it also takes an openness and sort of setting, you know, an ego aside to say, we need to make some changes.
And what I've found so far is the things that we've had to prioritize post Sean Ellis for after that first release, they're lighter lift, right? Because we've already done the 0 to 1. And you have pretty good clarity on what the customer is asking for. Like it becomes very obvious. And so like things that we've done, like for example, we launched a benchmarking feature where you can benchmark your portfolio to the S&P 500 or a custom portfolio, whichever you want, which is really cool. What customers really wanted was it to persist, that the custom benchmarks that they chose persist every time they log in, which was we weren't sure if we were going to need that. It was also, we keep asking ourselves the question, if we remove that from scope, do we still solve the customer problem, which is the ability to benchmark? Absolutely, right? So that fell off the prioritization. But when we did the Sean Ellis, when we got that ended up being the thing we prioritized next. And it wasn't a difficult ad.
Right.
And so it was kind of just like, you kind of find it's like, it's very rarely this like big bang thing that you need to spend an entire dev cycle on. It's usually these like small tweaks that make quality of life really better for the customer. And if that's all you did, you do see the needle move pretty significantly with stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's cool.
That makes a lot of sense.
That. Such a well-grounded approach. It goes so well with what we teach people. Like, use your customer's voice to drive your direction. You know, talking to them every day. Make sure you're incorporating that. So
for sure.
Great.
Okay. So when you look, I mean, you've been doing product for a while now. Like when you look back, what's one thing you wish more product leaders understood about their role in driving go-to-market success?
Their job is to be ultra communicative about what's being built. Like if that's all you're responsible for, that's huge. Because there's so many times where I thought it was this, or I didn't understand this feature, or I didn't understand how it worked, or something like that. Because it becomes nuanced. You know what I mean? Like you can do benchmark, but it's like, what if we launched benchmark for one thing, one S&P 500? That's all we did. That's very different than allowing you to customize and really create the personalized experience for yourself. And that really changes the GTM, right? Like the way marketing will sell one benchmark versus customization is very different. And so to me, for my PMs, it's talk to the team early and often, but like share the damn screenshots. Like they need access. Like if they need access to the Figma screens. Okay. Like they need access to the iterations. They need to know which ones, not your explorations. They want to know which ones are compliance proved, which ones the dev teams are actually building. Like that. So your job is to walk them through and make sure you link them to the right part of Figma so that doesn't become a problem.
Yes. Which ones are compliance approved? I love that.
Figma is like, also all those Figma files are like gigantic. So
they're gigantic. So and they have all their explorations, and no matter how great the designer is at organizing, there's just trash in there. Like they needed time to explore and like do their job.
And like your exploration as a designer, exploration gets you to where you need to be, but it's like you need a map.
I don't live in your head and you don't live in mine as much as people like might assume, you know.
Absolutely. Link them to the right place in Figma would be number 2 after being communicated.
We need to put that in giant letters. It's like
love that. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been really fun. And like, one other question we want to ask you, but Because I think it's always kind of fun to like look back on a moment, maybe, because I feel like in everything, there's always those like moments from like a launch or something that you're like, oh, that sticks with me. Do you have one when like a product decision, like really directly influenced a go-to-market win, or even just a lesson for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on.
Which one in the Rolodex do I want to choose? I think the 0 to 1s are what's so interesting, because I say this to my team a lot. I'm making up shit. You're making up shit. Like, it's all made up. In fact, the entire finance world is made up, in case you're wondering. So like, it's always incredible to see what you come up with and what you literally make up, and how that turns into something that customers either are obsessed with, can't live without, or like sometimes they don't give a shit about it. I can ask if we can curse on this.
You can. You're fine.
Okay, sorry. It's just bad habit working with a bunch of finance people.
Hello.
Yeah, I get it. I was like, maybe you guys are trying to class it up, and I'm like, that's just we have to be real here. We have to be real.
Yes, there's been some hair flips. We're good. They're big.
So yeah, I think the 0 to 1s are most interesting because that was born out of like a direction we got from the top, and then it manifested into an actual product and feature that we now depend on and iterate on. And I think that's why everyone wants to do 0 to 1.
And people either love it or hate it. Like, I've never found anyone who's like, I guess I'll start something. Like, no.
Those are the true entrepreneurs are the ones that are like, can deal with the ambiguity of this is a cool idea and we want to take it to the next level. Like true startup mentality in my mind.
Yeah.
And you know, as you grow as a company, sometimes you lose some of that type of personality. And I think a balance of both is really good, but that's who I always assign stuff to, is like, who's got that entrepreneur, who's always thinking about ideas on how to do things. So
that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
How to build your teams around it, around the mindset already, because it's so different. Who would raise their net?
Oh, those are very different people.
Versus the ones that are like, don't pick me.
Yeah.
It's either they thrive or burn out. That's what I've learned.
Totally.
It's an honest extreme spectrum.
It is.
And you got to work with someone's nervous system. You know what I mean? Like, you want them to put in an environment in which they feel empowered. And it's okay if you don't have that entrepreneurial mindset. Like, that's not the end all be all. In fact, I think, you know, you need a healthy balance of both. But I think about that a lot. It's like, you know, am I going to put someone on this? They're going to burn out super quick. And like, this is not going to be a good look for anybody, type of thing.
No.
Right. That's a good point.
But I also think that's also a very good, like, management point of view, because I think sometimes people assume that everyone wants to do a certain thing, or that there isn't going to need to be that balance. But you know what? You do need the people who are going to maintain the product, and they're going to like for the growth. Right?
They're going to like the incremental changes. They're going to thrive off of that. They're going to be your data collectors, right? They're the ones that are like going to go deep on the customers that are using it, versus your entrepreneurial one is like, I will figure that out later. That doesn't mean you're not talking to customers, but you really don't know who this product is like perfectly built for yet. You don't know until you put it in market.
Yeah,
you can try, but it's not the same. But you're more maybe that steady eddies is like the perfect way to describe them.
Totally.
But like, it's like that person that's like, I'm gonna, you know, I have a system and a framework of how I'm going to iterate on this. And I think your entrepreneurial mindset is like, I will create a framework every time I need to, and it'll be from what I've done in the past. But like, I'm cool with not replicating the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I feel like for anyone who does have an entrepreneurial mindset, it's difficult to recreate over and over.
Correct.
It's almost like you're just taking a nod from something you did before as a skill set you learned, but not as let me do this again.
Yeah.
Right. And then they make up the rest. Literally.
Exactly.
Literally.
That's the fun
Literally.
part.
That is the fun part. If you like making shit up, this is good for you.
This is exactly it. I know.
Yes.
Life unstructured work, also known as making shit up. Yes.
The sooner that everyone admits that, the better. That's also making shit up. Last time I checked.
It's why I love it.
Testing it. I love sometimes when I get questions that are very like, how many times has this happened before? How many times have you done this before? And I'm like, a million, but they're all different. So none of them.
Exactly.
I know. Yes. Angie will tell you her least favorite word we hear pretty daily is playbook.
Especially from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. And you're like, why?
I'm not a football player. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah. We're not running the same plays over and over again. We're running variations of experience and intuition. I know people in the business world don't like to talk about intuition as much as they should, because they want to be data oriented. But like, let me tell you, I would say about 30-40% of my decisions are gut reaction.
Yes.
Truly.
You hit something genius when your intuition leads you to something that could be ruled.
Amen.
It's like,
absolutely,
this thing happened and now we have all this intel against it.
And it's just one of those moments, like we talk about the aha moments in the product world, right? It's the aha moment that you have when you're like, that's it. That's it. I've either heard this, you're hearing things, you listen to a podcast, you just look for signal, not to use that again, but you're looking for signal all the time to make a decision. And it's not data driven, it's intuition driven.
Right. Which is pulled by so many other factors. Things you're reading, things you're hearing about, people are talking to you, all the different signals and data that's coming your way.
Right. In life, not just in work, right? Like conversations you have outside of work, that sort of stuff. Like I get a lot, when I feel uninspired, I'm listening to a podcast. I'm going for a walk and listening to a podcast, and I will come up with ideas after that.
Exactly.
For sure. Just like hearing a new perspective and being in a new environment. I think is like critical for that critical thinking ability.
Agreed.
I agree.
Like not new, but it's like the way people carry out critical thinking these days. It's so easy to do. You can do it anywhere, and it's at your fingertips. If you think about what kind of podcast you could find, there's a podcast for everything.
Literally everything.
You guys have me thinking of a book, and it's called Alchemy: The Dark Art and Curious Science of Creating Magic. And Rory Sutherland wrote it. But it's this, he starts it out with this like example of again, they did a very data-driven approach, something that really should have worked. So they were just doing like some fundraising. Just simple doing fundraising. He was like, we sent one offer that showed how much the government would match if you donated. We sent another that was like the feel good, like why you should donate. He's like, and then we just sent one that was in a red envelope and it just looked high end. And he was like, half of it was like the donate this, get that. You can mathematically see your impact. Great. The other one was just really like, well, you're a part of this. You've donated before. Why wouldn't you want to? The one that performed the best was the high-end feeling.
The red envelope.
Wow.
And
he aspirational works.
And it does. And he goes, and that was just, it was the leaving some room for a magic kind of moment where it was like, cool. I feel like this might push it. But I loved the way he approached it. He said it was always like just this little bit of intuition, leaving room for magic, along with having some data behind it. But sometimes the data came later. And I was over here, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to forget the name of this because it's the longest name. I was like, it's such like a fun read because I felt like for a long time, we really went very far to one side where it was like data must drive everything.
Yes.
It can, but humans don't behave.
No, in data.
They just don't behave always in a way you expect. And, my background's payments with retailers, and my goodness. People's buying patterns and things on paper sometimes don't make sense, but you may not know that a big life event is coming. You may not know that they got in a car accident that day. You may not know that their kid had a growth spurt. Like these are things that they're always looking for, these signals. They're very hard to find. And sometimes you just have to let intuition tell you like something's happening or something's needed. And you have to go figure it out because not everyone, they're not going to always tell you. And the data you have available is not always going to tell you that story.
Right.
For sure. One thing that lives rent free in my mind that has nothing to do with fintech, but I think is like the perfect example of like, how much vibes matter, for lack of a better word.
Yes.
I think it was a Japanese hospital was like found it through the data that they had found a perfect egg and sperm to match, but the egg rejected the sperm. And they were baffled by it because it was like genetically perfect to match what the egg had to offer. And the conclusion was you cannot control these things. That's not human to just say like this perfect match. And then of course the egg works that accept the sperm. Also love that this egg rejected the sperm, the perfect sperm,
I know,
and it just lives rent free in my mind of like, that's how humans work. Like, it's not about perfection. It's not about, it's like, does this satisfy something that even data couldn't answer? We'll just never know, that's how incredible the body is. And that not to get super meta, but that's how people are, right? Like if that's how we're created, that's who we are.
Absolutely.
I love this. I love that this is how we're wrapping this conversation.
I know.
I feel like, Hanane, anytime you and I have spoken, I feel like we always end up kind of like pulling in this other side of things where I just don't think you can ever discount like intuition, the humans you have behind them. The human element has to be there.
Yes.
I think people are concerned about that lately, but I think I take comfort in the fact that like the human side of things always wins out.
Yeah, it's still an overriding wave across everything.
Sure. And I think AI is going to push us more in that direction. Because that's like really all we have left, right? Is that intuition, is that human element. That's not what's being replicated right now. And so that's what's going to differentiate you, because now everything else is democratized, truthfully. So the only thing that you can do to differentiate is to figure out the vibes.
Right. Figure out the vibes and
I'm going to put that in my year-end review. See how my boss reacts to that. How did you do? I reacted based on vibes. And I made these decisions. I hope you like them.
I mean, I think I'm smelling.
You'll listen to this and be like,
so good. Oh my gosh. Well, Hanane, it's been so fun having you on.
This is great.
Seriously. All right.
You guys are great moderators. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. It's so fun.
And if people want to reach out or check anything out, where should they go?
Well, you can go to hanane.com, sign up for an account, test us out, check us out on our social pages. Honestly, we have a lot of Redditors out there who talk about our product and how to use it. And you can always reach out to our support team as well. Like, we're happy to help you onboard. You know that this isn't always a simple process. And we're here to make sure that you feel supported and that there's a human behind the product, even if we are digitally driven. So
awesome.
And vibes.
And
vibes, yes. Just know that your head of product is operating off of vibes, okay? Yeah, that's all you need to know.
I love it. All right.
Great.
We'll talk soon. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. See you guys. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
How do you know a conference conversation really went well? Not just, they totally get what we're building. I mean, really went well. Like, you know the exact pain you solve for that company, not just the pain you solve in general. You know they have budget, and you know who says go and when on that team. Now, if you're not sure, it might be time to relook at your ICP. And that means it's a great time to check out the GTM Loop System, a 5-pillar course series for fintech founders ready to build scalable go-to-market strategies. We're announcing our first pillar, Clarify Your Ideal Customer Profile. It's available today for only $49. So go to thegtmloop.com or go to the show notes to click directly to the URL and get started today.